Good morning everybody and welcome to Buttermere in the Western Lake District, and once again, as you can see, conditions are absolutely perfect. I'm not here alone today, I'm here with my mate Tom. Tom's up for the weekend, and this is going to give us a fantastic opportunity to try something a little bit different. Now we're going to say hello to Tom in a mo, but what we're going to do today is we're going to try and look at differences between going for the classic compositions like this wonderful shot of flick with pike and haystacks on Buttermere, and putting that against something a little bit more creative. And as Tom's my guest for the weekend, I'm going to let him have a crack at some of the classic compositions, and as I've got a little bit more local knowledge, I'm going to try my hand at something just a little bit more creative. And I think I've set myself quite a difficult challenge this morning, because when it comes to photography, I'm not the most creative photographer out there. I do quite a good job of the fairly obvious compositions, but when it comes to being creative, I generally struggle. And it's made even harder when you come to somewhere like this, somewhere that is so iconic, to really see beyond the obvious. And so the first thing I did when I got here was I got the classic shot, made sure that was in the bag, and then I started to try to think a little bit more creatively. And the only thing that I could think of to start with was to put the telephoto lens on and to pick out some detail in the distance. So we're focusing on the little fishing hut that sits at the foot of Buttermere. Now Tom and I have got 3 shoots planned for this weekend, and so there's going to be more opportunity for me to try and be a little bit more creative, but I think for this first shot perhaps I'll give myself a bit of a break, you know. As you can see, the wind's picked up now and it's broken the surface of the lake. Now up until this point I've just left Tom alone. This is his first shoot for a while, so just let him concentrate. But now that the surface of the lake has been broken, we can now catch up with Tom, and he's going to walk you through his classic composition.
Right, well, as Chris has already said, we're here at Buttermere, and I've not been here before, so I wanted to get the classic shot. After surveying the area, I took a relatively central location, and then putting the wide angle lens on, as you can see, I sort of moved around between the 17 and the 40, sticking around the 28mm to 35mm length. You can't see it, but trying to get this mountain on the left and the ridge to the right in the shot with the reflections down here. I've moved around left and right, so there's some rather dangerous looking cows over there, and a rather dangerous looking photographer over here. So I wanted to try and find which gave the best sort of third dimension, if you like, but in reality taking quite a central location has worked quite well, as hopefully you can see. But yeah, wonderful location, beautiful morning, and one for a little bit of experimentation, but the classic is the classic. So get your wide angles on, get your horizon in the middle, and get shooting.
Now I'll be the first to admit that that first shot that I took wasn't very creative at all, so I thought I'd have another go. And what I've done is I've come around to the left, almost as far as I can go, and stay at the edge of the lake. And that's taken fleet with pike out of the frame. And so now I'm just left with the view of haystacks. And here in the foreground I have some grasses, and I have some rocks, and I have a post, and I have a little bit of rope. And originally I was shooting in portrait orientation, including the background of the mountain. And that wasn't creative enough, I didn't think. So I've now gone for a much tighter composition, just focusing on the post, the rock and the grass, and the bottom of the reflections. And just, you know, having a very intimate frame. Yeah, let's see what we make of this. I definitely think that that second shot was a lot more creative. It's a lot more unique. You won't have seen that particular composition many times before, if ever. But I have to be honest, it's left me feeling a little flat. It doesn't have that wow factor of that first shot, the shot that Tom took, with those two fantastic mountains and those beautiful reflections. And so I have to say, here at Buttermere, it feels like the classic shot has won. Right, day 2 of our classic versus creative challenge. And this morning we've come to Derwent Water. This is actually Isthmus Bay on Derwent Water. So we're here again in the morning at sunrise. Wasn't much of a sunrise this morning, and so we actually chose a location that's west facing. And we've got some lovely cloud in the distance. It's looking quite moody. Now, because my efforts at Buttermere were so poor yesterday, I have been sacked from doing the creative shot. So this morning I'm going to be taking the classic shot. The main feature here at Isthmus Bay is the old crumbling concrete jetty, and the classic shot uses the jetty in the foreground and the view of cat bells in the background. Now, although this is the classic shot, I've never actually shot it before. Normally I would stand on the jetty looking straight down and have cat bells off to the left hand side. Now, it is reasonably windy this morning. The surface of the lake is completely broken, and so I'm going to do a long exposure. I have the Lee little stopper in front of the lens, and I'm doing exposures of around about 30 seconds. Right, so that's my classic shot in the bag. Let's now go and catch up with Tom and see what he's doing. Right, Tom, so we have sacked me from doing the creative shot. And I think that's fair enough, because you've always been a little bit more creative in your photography than me.
Yeah.
So you're a bit more suited to this sort of thing. But you walked away, you've come quite a way away from the jetty. Now, most people when they come to Isthmus Bay, that's what they come for that old concrete jetty. But you walked away from that, so why was that?
I wanted to create a sort of sense of drama. I recently read a couple of books, and they were talking about the importance of landscape photography, of not being too two-dimensional, and lifting the scene to create some X factor that creates more than a lot of pictures do. And I felt there was quite a good 3-dimension to the scene behind us, both with the side light over this way, as well as cat bells in the far distance. Added to which the cloud was setting over cat bells, and the light was bouncing around, such that finally, after about half an hour or so, we got some good pink hues.
Right, come on then, let's get behind the camera, and then you can talk us through the composition.
Okay. So first, as you can see, I've got a neutral density filter on. It's a 4-stopper. The scene, like I say, is cat bells over here, and there's a boathouse to the right. I've played around a little bit with the ISO so that I can get different speeds, but I'm currently at ISO 100 and then shooting at 3.2 seconds and an aperture of 9. As I mentioned earlier, what I was trying to do is create a bit of visual drama and 3 dimensions, so that there's a good sweep of scenery, both with side light here, clouds above cat bells, and hopefully what you can see is a nice bit of drama. There's good stones in the foreground, and really it's about moving right to left to see what images work best with the scenery in front of us. Yeah, I hope you like it.
So I like that shot so much by Tom that I'm going to take my own version. I certainly have absolutely no problems ripping off a mate. As far as our classic versus creative challenges going, I make that 1-1. But unfortunately in the Tom versus me competition, that's 2-0 to Tom an unassailable lead. Right, our third and final location for our classic versus creative challenge. This is Rydal Water, more specifically the Lone Tree. And in a moment we're going to go and catch up with Tom and try and get some of his tips for looking beyond the obvious and trying to create more creative compositions. But first I'm going to take you through the classic here of the Lone Tree. So here at the Lone Tree, what I always try to do is to silhouette the tree against the background. There's a gap between the trees on the right hand side and the hills on the left hand side where you can kind of fit the tree, and that creates some separation. What's also helping with creating separation between the subject and its background is it's quite misty this morning, and so that's going to help a lot with this shot. And so this is the classic shot, nice and simple, very straightforward. A little bit messy on the right hand side this morning because of the reflections, but yeah, not a bad shot.
Right, well, welcome to a misty Rydal Water. The Lone Tree seems to be a bit of an iconic classic when it comes to Rydal Water, so I did a bit of pre-research on relevant locations around the lake, and I've gone slightly away from the usual in that I've got the tree very much to the left of the shot, with enough water to the left to create both context and feeling, with a little bit of land as well, again to give you the feeling that you're at the lake. It's quite misty, so the background's relatively blurred anyway, so I've focused in a bit close to the tree at a focal length of about 50 and really tried to use the mist to the right of the tree and the sort of vast expanse of water to create a feeling of emptiness in reality, so that the tree really draws your eye to the picture, leaving the rest of it relatively misty and dramatic, hopefully, to create a nice scene. Shooting at, don't know, f9 and ISO 100, a speed of about 1 second, although the light's picking up obviously. And I hope you like it. It's a really nice misty morning and some really nice photographs to be had. Enjoy.
So I think here what I did was I made the classic mistake of I walked through the gate, I saw the tree and I went and took a picture of it. So have you got any tips to help people look beyond the obvious?
I think we all probably know what we're looking for when we come to shoot many locations, but the first thing I try and do is give myself an opportunity to walk around the area I'm shooting to work out what the best composition might be. People tend to turn up at locations and just come in, do what you did, shoot, and think that that's the only shot that they can take, but in reality there's so much more opportunity, and just because one photographer's taken that picture doesn't mean it's the best shot for you. Conditions, the area, the height of the grass, as I've noticed this morning, the height of the lake, it makes a big difference. So do walk around, give yourself the time. You've usually got more time than you think, and choose your composition, not just turn up, shoot and go home.
So I think from my point of view, I think what this video hopefully has proven is that if you come to places like this where there are iconic shots, by all means get those shots, get them in the bag. But then once you've done that, spend a little bit of time walking around, looking for other opportunities to perhaps create a new classic.
I mean, Frank Sinatra, whose song I can't sing because Chris will have to pay royalties, might sum it up best by, I did it my way.
Well, that's very good.
Yeah,
had you prepared that?
I just thought of that. I would sing it, but you'd have to pay Frank, who's, long since departed,
Yes.
royalties. But do it your way, folks.
Do it your way, not Frank's way.
No. And if you do it your way, you'll be the winner. Fact.